Hello, welcome to this edition of Momentum. Once again, I'm your host, Robert Green. Happy to be with you today, and I'm very happy to be joined in the studio today with Miss Maggie Delaughter. Maggie is an industrial and systems engineering senior, but the reason she's here today is she's project manager of our Space Cowboys team, and perhaps I should say our world champion Space Cowboys team. Maggie, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
I think we need to start with what we have here between us. Tell us what we have here.
Yeah, so these are the two first place 30K COTS trophies from this year's and last year's IREC. So these are our first place trophies for winning the category of 30,000 feet, which basically means that we get to fly up to 30,000 feet with a solid motor rocket.
Okay, well that sounds like a lot of fun. Congratulations on that. But there's one trophy that's not here. Tell us about that trophy.
So the New Horizons trophy is basically the overall winner of the entire competition. So out of 143 teams across 16 countries, we won first place, which is a great honor.
So you really are world champions.
Yes, we are.
Yeah.
Yes.
So how do you feel about that?
Oh my goodness. Like when I was watching the award ceremony, because it was online this year, and they had announced Team 216, Mississippi State University, won first place overall, I lost my mind. I mean, you could not contain my excitement.
Yeah, well, congratulations to you and all of the team. I know you all worked hard over the last several years, and to have back-to-back first place wins like this is really remarkable. So tell us a little bit about the competition. Now, it's a 30,000 foot COTS, or commercial off-the-shelf competition, but I've seen the rocket and I've seen all of you working on it. I'm not always seeing where it's coming off the shelf. There looks like there's a lot of manufacturing and custom work in it.
Yes, so the commercial off the shelf actually means that we buy the motor and it comes in seven different parts, and we put it together, and then all we do is we put it in the rocket. There's no like research behind it. There's no manufacturing testing that has to be done. We just buy it, make it, put it in. But for the rest of the manufacturing, we manufacture the entire rocket in-house, at least for the structure, except for the nose cone, which we are working on. That's one of our research projects.
Okay, so you're making all of that using a lot of composite material and others. Mm-hmm. Any special sponsors you want to mention that help with that? Because I know composite materials can be fairly expensive.
Oh yes. So all of our material usually gets donated from Aurora Flight Sciences and then gets sent to the Advanced Composite Institute. And then they go through and they donate it to all of the design teams, not just Space Cowboys. But we get a large chunk of that material. Okay.
Well, tell us a little bit about the rocket. How big is it? How does it function?
Yeah, so Bandit is about 11 feet tall, and it is really, really cool. It's made mostly out of carbon fiber, and the payload tube is made out of astroquartz, which you can think kind of like fiberglass. And then it's got, on the inside, it's got a payload, and the payload actually has 5 different sections. So it's got a student research flight computer, a live telemetry system. We actually tried to churn butter this year on the rocket. Okay. And that was pretty cool. We tried to see the denaturing of proteins, and that was pretty cool. Those were 2 of my favorites.
So there's a lot more to this than just building a rocket and launching. I mean, you've got teams working on the payload and all of that. Yeah. It sounds like an opportunity for a lot of students to get involved.
Oh yeah, it certainly is. There's 5 different sub-teams, and it's not just engineering that goes into this team. One of our most notable members is actually an arts major, and she is definitely one of the most talented people on the team.
Okay. Well, tell us about the name. Where did Bandit come from?
Well, Bandit actually came from the first rocket, which was named Outlaw. And Outlaw was named that because it was a bunch of freshmen, sophomores, and one junior who didn't know anything about rocketry. And at the time, it was 2 different rocketry teams competing to be the only one. And this team actually was split off because they wanted to make a name for themselves. And so they named themselves Outlaw. And since it's the 20th anniversary of the team, what better thing to do than to come up with another name for Outlaw, and that just happened to be Bandit.
Okay. Well, let's talk about the team for a little bit. Where did the name Space Cowboys come from?
So the name Space Cowboys actually came from one of the grad students at the time who was kind of mentoring the team, and they were trying to figure out, you know, what should we name the team? And so he kind of looked at everybody and was like, everybody seems to be, you know, from that southern area, so it seems like everybody's kind of got this cowboy background. And so he was like, why don't you just name yourself Space Cowboys? And they all kind of like looked at each other and they're like, oh my goodness, that's perfect.
Yeah.
We're gonna go with that.
And it stuck for 20 years.
Oh yeah, it stuck and it made a name for itself.
Yeah. So how many students are on the team?
There's about 120 members on the team. I would say when it gets down like to crunch time, there's about 60 who kind of put their heads down and work on the rocket.
Yeah. And of course you have a faculty mentor. Who is that?
Yes, that is Dr. Shreyas Narsipur in the aerospace department.
Okay. I imagine he's pretty involved with the students
Yes.
and what they do. So it's Space Cowboys, but when I look at the team, a lot of times I see a lot of girls on the team. So tell us, how are girls on the team? Have you found any challenges, you know, as a female being on that team?
Yeah. So this year, all 3 officers are actually women, and this is the first time in the team's history that all of the 3 big leaders on the team are women. I would say that it's not really any different. I mean, everybody respects each other, everybody listens. It's not really, you know, anything to be afraid of to be a woman in engineering as long as you know what you're doing.
Yeah, and we do have a lot of women who
Yes.
know what they're doing in
Yes, we do.
engineering. So you are an industrial and systems engineering major, a senior. And knowing what they do, it sort of makes sense. Project manager, ISE major, it makes sense. And you mentioned art majors.
Yes.
What are some of the other majors on the team, and what sort of functions do they fill?
Yeah. Our structures members are actually aerospace. We have mechanical engineers, computer engineers. Our computer engineer, he is actually the leads of our payload sub-team. So he does all of the wiring, all of everything for our payload to make sure that it works. Let's see, we have biomedical engineers,
Okay.
Biology majors. They kind of helped in that denaturing proteins payload this year. Yeah, I would say electrical engineers, we have, just a lot of engineers from all of the different concentrations, and then we have a few others who kind of just came in who were just interested in rocketry, and they've pretty much just stayed with us.
Yeah. Well, if you're a current student here, or if you are an incoming student that wants to get involved with the team, how do they go about that? Who should they contact?
Yeah, so if you want to get involved with Space Cowboys, I would go over to Cowbell Connect, look for Space Cowboys there. And there will be a link to a Canvas page, and you go through there and you fill out the quizzes. You would do a general knowledge quiz and then fill out all of our safety quizzes through that, and then you would get put into our teams, and that's kind of how you get integrated into the team. Any contacts, you can contact me at mgd184@mississippistate.edu.
So what are the requirements to join the team? Do you have any?
Nope, just a love for rocketry and the willingness to learn. You know, you don't even have to have a love for rocketry, but you know, we kind of all have that requirement, I think.
So how much time do you put in, or an average member, how much time would they put in each week on the team activities and getting a rocket ready for competition.
Yeah, I am not going to disclose how many hours I have put into this
Okay,
team.
understood.
But all we require from our general members is 2 hours a week. 1 hour for our general body meeting and 1 hour for your general sub-team meeting.
So you're probably putting in more hours than most students would. How do you manage all of that? Being an engineering major, demanding classes, takes a lot of time, and then all the time here. How do you keep things on track?
Well, I have to schedule out my week. Every weekend I kind of sit down and look at everything that I have to do and try to fill that out, you know, with schedules and trying to figure out what can fit where in all the spaces of time that I have.
Yeah. So what advice would you have for an incoming engineering student to help them be successful, not only in extracurricular activities like Space Cowboys, but in school?
Yeah, I would say to actually practice the practice problems that they give you. Study, do not wait, and I would say that extracurriculars is that kind of jump ahead that students get that most people don't pay attention to. You know, you join any kind of design team, not just Space Cowboys. Yeah. I mean, there's plenty for all different kinds of concentrations.
Okay. So this was the International Rocket Engineering Competition, and the 30,000-foot COTS was one part of it. How many other competitions are there within IREC?
Well, there is the 10K COTS and SRAD, which means Student Research and Design. Okay. So that's either solid or liquid. It doesn't matter which one, but that's a category. And then there's 30K COTS and SRAD. And then there's hybrids, which can be 10 or 30K. And hybrids is a mix between liquid and solid motors.
Okay.
And then there is a 45,000-foot category, but the minimum requirement for that is that it has to be a two-stage.
Okay. So how high did Bandit go?
Bandit went to 29,518 feet, just 500 feet, a little less than 500 feet off the mark.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good job. We got about 30 seconds left. What's next for Space Cowboys?
Well, we are going to continue on with 30K COTS and see if we can do it a third time.
Okay. Get another matching trophy.
Yeah, that's the plan.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Maggie. Thanks for joining us in the studio. Thanks for your leadership on Space Cowboys, and congratulations to the entire team. And I want to thank you all for joining us on this edition of Momentum, and I look forward to seeing you next time.